Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. It's Ali here. So if you're new here, I'm a day trader for over 8 years of experience now, and I thought to myself, it would be really valuable to start a new series where I go through trade setups and opportunities that show up each trading day. I'll be breaking down the setups that appeared today, what strategies that really worked, how you could have traded them in real time or even when you're back testing, and what key things to look for next time when they show up. Um, whether you're a new trader or someone who's been in the game for a while, this series is going to help you understand how the market moves right now and which strategies are currently working in the current conditions. Now, before we dig deeper, smash the like button. And if you want me to continue this daily series for the next month or even longer, drop a comment below and tell me what kind of setups you really want me to cover. Demand and supply, gap fill, swing entries, whatever you're struggling with right now, let me know in the comment below. And don't forget to subscribe and with the bell button so you don't miss any of these upcoming breakdowns. So before actually let's just get into it. All right, so let's go. All right, so let's talk about few of the setups right now. We're gonna go through few of the setup that I've already added in my screen in my watch list. So let's look at here. Basically what happened today was right here. Let's look at Wolf. So it's ticker number WU. So today Wolf provided a great opportunity, and basically what happened here that this was in a watch list, and reason why because there was a massive move right here in the pre-market level, in the pre-market area before the market opened. There was some news, but even better was because of the daily chart. Notice here the daily chart right here. Um, it's on an uptrending, and if we go further right here, let's just go a bigger one. Notice here how it's uptrending, right? And when it's uptrending and the stock is gapping up and about to make new highs, especially after these, when the stock does this right here, it goes up and it comes down and then starts to curl up. And now on the here it's breaking out. Notice here there's a really small trend right here, and this would be the entry. So this will be the as soon as the market open. So this was a great entry setup today that market provided. So you will enter right here. Your stop loss will be right here. Very short stop loss, and boom, massive. You can just put a stop breakout order, or basically means a stop limit order, which basically means if it breaks out, you just enter automatically with your bracket orders. You can do that. Now let's look at another one. I'm gonna go a little quicker because I don't want to keep talking about one setup. Now this is a demand and supply, perfect demand and supply in QBTS. Now QBTS is really famous right now. It's been on a tear, and notice here, let's look at the daily chart first. So on the daily chart, I'm gonna remove this. On the daily chart, what is happening here is that it had a huge rip, and now it had lots of red candles. And normally what happens, normally that happens and it breaks the 9 moving average, which is this blue line on the daily chart. When the stock comes back up, it's a very famous setup where the stock hits this moving average and it cannot go above, and then it turns around. Okay, and that's where you look for a short. So you look for a short when the stock finally comes up to 9 moving average and then starts to break down below. And now, how do you trade that? How do you trade that? So it's on the smaller time frame. You look for uh, supply and demand. So this is a very classic supply and demand. So if you notice here, the entry you could have literally ticked the top, and the way it works is this. So let's look at here. This is a demand zone right here. And the way demand zone works is that where the stock went massive down. So you notice here, the stock went massively down right here from this area. Okay, so when the stock comes back up again, it will go back down again most likely, and that will be a short area. So let's look at here and do a zoom. Exactly what happened. Notice here. So if you had this line drawn already before the market even opened, right here, this line is came exactly right here, and boom. And the way you had, because you had the setup needs to be always look at the daily chart first. Look at where the daily chart is. It has a huge breakdown, start go up, then it's gonna continue downwards. That's normally the stocks work, right? But then you look at the smaller time frame. You look for a demand zone or the supply zone, which was supply right here. The stock went crazy down. So when it comes back up again, same area, there's a huge crash, and that will be a great area to short. Okay, so right here on this line area, great area to short. Now let's look at another setup. APLD is another, it's a different setup. So now in this setup, it's a little different. Basically, it's a demand and supply. I wouldn't take it. I didn't take it, but it's a demand and supply. Notice here, it's a, if you look at the previous day, when there's like a flat and the stock breaks out, I'm gonna show you a little better example on BA, but this happens a lot where there's like a little stock is not able to go and then boom goes up. Next day comes down to the same area and then moves up. So I'm gonna talk about this. I'm gonna show you on the um, example right here. So notice here, if I draw a line right here, okay, this area, and now fast forward, what happened today? Exactly, it opened up, came down, test this level, and boom, because this was a demand zone. So I'm going to show you a better example. Actually, it happened on BA today, BA, Boeing. So let's look at Boeing right here. Very clean. It's a clear setup, and but daily chart is also very important. So on the daily chart first, always look at the daily chart. So there's a breakout on the daily chart. Notice it is a breakout on the daily chart. Okay, so there's a trend break on the daily chart. That's why it's looking like okay, it's bullish. Okay, it's looking like okay, it broke out right here. It's bullish. Now, how do you look for entry on the for day trading? So notice here what happened. If I draw a line, I just showed you, right? This is the demand zone where the stock was having really hard time going up and up, and then boom, it broke out right here, right? So this is same area where the stock in this morning came up and boom. So you'll have literally tick the bottom right here. Literally tick the bottom right here, right here. Okay, notice here it came down to this exact level and then boom, which is the demand and supply. So a very common setup. But daily chart is also very important. You have to see if it's bullish or not. On the daily chart is bullish, that's when you're gonna buy the dip, not otherwise. If the stock is all on, not there's no good setup on the daily chart, most likely it not doesn't work. Talking about a good setup on the daily chart, uh, today Nvidia had a huge one, and this is a very good strategy, which is the gap fill strategy. When the stock is really bullish on the daily chart, and the stock is has a lot of pre-market when the stock is gapping up, okay, there's a lot of pre-market, usually comes down and fills the gap. So what that means, if you look here on the 50-minute chart, this is there's no pre-market level here, so that's why the stock gapped up. And how do I say gap up? So if you don't know gap up, I just want to make sure I talk about everybody, like if somebody's new, or if you already experienced, you probably already know. But notice here, the stock filled this gap right here to this T right here, 191. So what happened? The stock, because the stock, and the if you look at the smaller time frame around here, the stock went up, opened, and then it came down. So basically, it formed this gap because it did not trade. It gapped up, opened higher, and it slowly came down, filled this gap, and then massive move. Notice here, massive move. So you can literally pick the bottom right here. All you do is you put your order where the gap fill is, and that's it. And your stop loss will be right here. So I just simply just go here and look for where it is, and then I just simply put my order and put my stop loss below, and boom, done. And you just get a massive move. Okay. Um, let's look one more before we end. So let's look PLTR. PLTR, another very famous stock. Um, so this is okay. So a lot of very times. Notice here there's a lot of tug and war, right? And eventually price goes down. So it means that yesterday, this is yesterday, this part is yesterday. Yesterday there was a lot of fight happening. Okay, a lot of fight happening in the price action. The stock goes up and then just fight. Eventually stock goes down. Okay. So that means that the people who lost were the buyers. Buyers lost and short sellers won. So when the stock finally comes back here in the same area where there was a lot of fight, all the people who did not give up yesterday probably will give, they will like, okay, let me just get out now, because they did not get out yesterday after the fight and they held all the way down. So what that means is if in this area, around this area, notice here what happened. Notice here. So the stock comes up. So you can look for, so this is where the yesterday all the people who tried to, buy the stock failed and the stock went down. So there's a lot of selling pressure at this area now because the buyers lost and sellers won. So there's a lot of selling pressure. Okay. And when that happens, usually there's a lot of selling pressure. The stock comes up right here. I mean, let me draw a line. Look, I drew this line. This is where the stock had a lot of trouble, right? And then it failed. So notice it comes up multiple times, and then it fails. Comes up here, fails. So what you could do is you can put your order right here. Put your order right here to short, and your stop loss will be right above this high. If it just goes up, continues to go, you can just get stopped out. Okay. Now the thing is that it is. I think the stock is going to continue up because on the daily chart, it's a tough one. On the daily chart, it's breaking out and it's breaking out. I think it's going to continue up eventually. But because there was a lot of firefighting yesterday and the stock failed, so it comes up on the same area and then failed again. Okay. So we talked about quite a few. Let's just recap. We talked about demand and supply, a lot of demand and supply, where previously there's a lot of, if the stock fails from a previous area, the stock normally comes up to the same area and then fails again. Another thing is very important is the most important part is the daily chart. Daily chart is very, very important. You have to look at the daily chart. Where's the actual, what's actually happening on the daily chart, and then based on that, you find entries most of the time on our smaller time frame. And talked about gap fill, when the stock gap fills the gap and then continues forward. So these strategies are working really, really well these days in the day trading community, day trading market. And you want to look for specifically these things if you want to be successful. All right, guys, make sure you like and subscribe. Let me know what you learned. If you want to talk about something else, I'll be more than happy to talk about it. All right, take care. See you guys in the next video. Bye.